Okay, recording has started.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We have some information for you this morning, so we don't want to delay the time. We may get done early, but nonetheless, we do want to respect your time. For those of you who are just joining the call, we ask that you please add your name and your district in the chat. Um, we are going to talk about some updates from EdPlan, just to give you an update on indicators 7, 11, and 12, updates on 8 and 14, Table 5, year-to-year change, profiles, determinations, and as always, just reminders and resources and our contact here in the office. So we have noticed that um, districts do have the ability to alter the spreadsheets when you download to make corrections. We ask that you please do not alter the spreadsheet columns because we do have to aggregate those spreadsheet from the individual districts into one. And so when you add columns or you remove columns, it alters and shift things and it messes up the flow of the data. So we need that data to be aligned. So please do not alter the spreadsheets. Column, do not remove any rows or add or delete columns or rows in your spreadsheets. Also, please be sure that you reconcile your data. We know that when we started the system back in July, it was we were working across multi-school years, and so you may have had some outliers as it pertains to indicators 7, 11, 12, and Table 4. Those students who are no longer there, please make sure that they are removed from your system, the ones who truly exited. You want to make sure that those evaluations complete for indicators for 11 and 12 are actually completed. And those students actually are in sync with the students who are currently in your system as of today. But definitely by the end of the year. There's a release coming in April, and those changes there's actually going to be two, I believe, but there's one that's going to take place in April, and I think there's going to be a second one. I don't know the extent of what's going to be in the May release just yet, but there is one. There are two additional ones that's going to impact reporting. As of right now, we know for the April, it will there about 90% of the students are missing from the Indicator 7 report. And I did ask if that will be corrected before the April systemic verification check. I don't know if it'll be completed by then, but I should have an answer by the end of this call. And for indicator 7, they're going to add a flag for days of services for students that receive services less than 180 days of services. They're going to add a flag in for that indicator. So that should assist with us asking those redundant questions over and over as to why the data is not attached to the student. Um, for the systemic verification check on April 11th, it is the plan right now that the data for indicator 7 will be updated for the indicator 7 systemic verification check. We decided that we would attempt to do 12 again, because districts selected different options for indicator 12. It skewed the data, so we did not get a consistent collection to do the systemic verification check. So we are adding it back to the April systemic verification check. Once again, please know that these participation is not required. These are strictly optional. It does help us here at the state kind of gauge in on what some of the issues are or things that we need to be on the lookout for or things that may need to be addressed within the system. So we do appreciate your participation in that. Grade levels. We've been saying this for a while. I know dating back to child count that XG, adult education, AE, PO, P2, P3, OS, UG, NG, and blanks. Those are not valid grade levels. And so the student's actual grade level needs to be corrected in Power School by May 30th. So we should not receive any of your final reports with incorrect grade levels or any instances of a grade level other than pre-K through grade 12 are the only valid grade levels that we should see on your final report. Indicator 7 and well, not necessarily indicator 7, but more particularly this applies to 11 and 12. And so right now there's an option in there for overdue reasons, I believe it's what it's titled. And there are three options right now. It says LEA failure, parent delay, and other. We do want to let you know that the option for other is going to be removed. That is not a viable option. Regardless of what the situation is, if it's overdue, you'll have to write a comment to us. And if it's not a parental delay and it's an LEA failure, you write that comment in there, and once we get it, we will change it if it should be changed to parental delay and not if it was not something that the LEA specifically contributed to the delay, then we will change that to the appropriate outcome. We also want to let you know that LEA failure will be changed to LEA delay. And so that's coming in the future. So we just wanted to give you heads up that those changes was coming down the pikes. Also, under indicator 12, under the early childhood factors, you'll see an option for NA. The NA will also be removed. So we just wanted to give you heads up that those two items will be removed and LEA failure will be renamed to LEA delay, which basically means that the LEA failed to meet the timeline. Okay. For indicator 7, just for consistency in the reporting, we're providing screenshots for 7, 11, and 12 just to show the districts what options to select when you're running the report. So to the right, for indicator 7, the options that you see on the screen is what you want to, when you're running your report, those are the items and the data points that you need to put into the report. We will do the excluding here at the state levels, and we want to make sure that all boxes are checked to ensure consistency across the state. Whenever you check something other than what's on this screen, or if you uncheck it, it's going to skew your data. And it's going to make it ugly here at the state. So we please ask that you follow the screenshots when you're submitting your data. For indicator 12, we ask that I don't have a picture of the schools listed, but you're going to run your report as of the child count date. And for the 24-25 school year, when you get to the option for the schools, because that list is very different in every district, right? So if you are a district who have test schools or sample schools or just schools that you have in your district that are non-reporting schools that that you use for testing your changes in your system, please deselect those schools prior to submitting your report to the state. For indicator 12, BabyNet, the only option that we are going to exclude, it would be the one for exclude the blank as of the BabyNet referral. If the box is checked, the students will only appear if they have a value in that field. And so if the box is blank, then I think I got that wrong. So if the box is blank, it's going to give us the information. If it's checked, it's going to exclude it. So I do need to update this slide before I send it. So we want everything to come to the state because this is our first time around. We just need to be able to gauge and make sure that the reports are doing what it's supposed to do before we start excluding any data from the submissions. Indicators 8 and 14, as stated in the update that came out earlier this week, the LEAs will not have to submit anything to us at the state for indicators 8 and 14. We have joined forces with the Office of Research and Data Analysis here at the state, along with PCG, and they're going to create those reports for us. Um, we're going to get that report, scrub it, clean it, and then we're going to give you a copy back. With that copy, then if any information is missing, or if we need corrections or clarifications, we'll kind of kill two birds with one stone at the same time. So you will get a copy of that, of what we get. We will give you a copy of it for your records, just being as transparent as possible. So for indicators 8 and 14, the information highlighted, those will come from the ODS. And in the other three remaining fields will come from PCG. So they're actually going to merge the report and pass it along. Just wanted to remind those reporting districts for indicator 8. Um, the highlight districts highlighted in yellow are enriched districts, and so you will submit your indicator 8 via ADT. The other districts, that information will be compiled between ORTA and PCG. So just reminding those districts, reporting districts for indicator 8, who they are. Okay. Indicator 14, the opt-in bonus points. Once we have the report cleaned and scrubbed, we'll add those survey codes back in for those opt-in districts, those districts that said they wanted to contact the families and complete the surveys with them. We will provide you that spreadsheet with those survey codes in it so that you can start those calls to those families. Once again, the indicator 14 opt-in, there's a total of 40 possible points for the LEA determinations, and one bonus point is built into the determinations, which is standard for everyone. And then there's that one incentive point for the opt-in districts if you get a response rate of 50% or higher. And that formula is, it says not applicable, which are the students or the families that you surveyed, divided by the total number of students in your source file. So that's the formula for the response rate. And if you have opted in, you will need to track your calls. We don't need that information here at the state. That is for your records. But once again, if you make 3 attempts and you do not get an answer, that gives you your out for that students. Now, I will mind you that they are not included in the response rate. They only the ones that you actually survey. And if there's no contact from you, we actually put it back into the source file and send it to the vendor as one last opportunity to get that data. Okay. We'd hope to have an incident management report for you by now, but we still have not received the file just yet. But it is coming, and once we have that information parsed out and ready for you for the current year, we're going to get you a copy in ADT so that you can start looking at it for yourself before June 30th. Okay. If you were to look in ADT, you will see 2 files that I placed in there on yesterday, referencing year-to-year change for discipline, exiting, personnel, child count. Seems like there was 5. moving forward. And so when you open those documents, and I wanted to provide a screenshot to you. So when you open it, if it says explain, just write an explanation to the right of it. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just helping us to gauge in what transpired in your district so that we can write a response for the state as to what led to the change in the data. And that change is triggered if there's a change in the count of 50 and 30%. So both criteria must be met in order for you to be flagged to explain the data. And I did want to remind you that on the personnel report, speech language, the teachers are actually added back into section 1 with the teachers, and then the related services is added to section C for the related services provider. And that will be due on April 18th. If you open your spreadsheet and it does not say explain, there is nothing for you to do. Good job. You've done your data aligns with the previous year, and there's no red flags or triggers in your data. So kudos to those districts who don't have to write any explanations. Okay. Profiles and determinations. We hope to place your draft in ADT by mid-April. So as you're returning those responses for the year-to-year change, you should be getting your draft, a copy of your draft profiles and determinations in ADT at the same time. Districts will have a month, so you'll get until mid-May to inquire about corrections. And just remember that the data profile measures how the district compares to our APR SPP report. So unless we have made an error here at the state, there are no changes to your data profiles. Similarly to the determinations, we do our best, but there are instances where we do make mistakes. And so if you see any issues or errors on your determinations, please let us know so that we could double check that for you. Because we want your data to be a true representation of your district. We hope to have the final copies posted on the website June 2nd, which can be accessed via the LEA profiles and determinations page or the website listed right here on this page. I do want to talk about, we back in February on the LEA information session, we covered a proposal for the Early Childhood Performance Factor 7. And that proposal is that we will split those the early childhood into 2 performance factor worth 1.5 each. And so one will be centered around the LRE for early childhood, which is 6A. And so if you meet or exceed the target, you get the 1.5 point. If the LEA current year data is better than the state data, then that's 1 point. And if you improve from the previous year, then it's a half point. And if all 3 are less than, if there are no improvements in your current year, then it's 0 points. The second part to that early childhood performance factor would be the COAST data. And so for the COAST, we know that there are 6 outcomes. And so if you receive 4 or more, if 4 or more of those outcomes is better than the target, then you get the 1.5 point. If not, but for 4 or more of those outcomes are better than the state data, then you get 1 point. And if the 2 above are not true, then your last opportunity to receive points for the COAST would be if 4 or more of those outcomes are better than the previous year, then you get a half point for that. But if there are no improvements across the outcomes at all, then you get 0 points. That is the proposal for the FY24 profiles and determinations. So when you get your drafts in April, we will have the proposal. We'll have your data with the proposal in there included into it. So you'll get an idea of how that will impact your LEA next year when we transition to this, when we update or propose including these two criterias for the early childhood LRE. I'm sorry, for the early childhood performance factor on the determinations. Okay. And that's basically about it. Our next monthly meeting is April 24th, and the systemic verification check right now, tentatively, is scheduled for April 11th. And once again, these are not required. They are strictly optional, but they do help us here at the state kind of gauge in on what's going on in the data and things to look out for, or if we need to submit corrections for the reporting. Our monthly meeting information has not changed. This will be the same for the remainder of this year through June. You'll get a new meeting link in July for next year. The PowerPoint for today will be added to the resource drive as well as emailed to you. Once we get the recording, we will send it to you with the weekly updates. Our contact information, if you have any questions for us, please send it to the Special Education Services at ed.sc.gov. This is our contact information, as well as a slide to tell you who handles which indicators or which report, your point of contact. So if you send it to the Special Education Services email, someone will definitely respond to you. And at this time, if there are no questions, I'm going to open the floor. Albert, if you could unmute and allow folks to ask questions. Did we have any questions in the chat?
I've gone ahead and allowed mics for participants, so you can come off of mute and ask your questions if you need to.
So I think we have some in the chat from Ms. Hattie Urban, and she's asked, are the systemic verifications for indicators 7 and 12 are to be submitted through EdPlan?
If you are in an EdPlan district, yes. Only the enriched districts are uploading their data via ADT.
And then there's one from Cynthia Tucker. On the invalid grade levels, you have P3 listed. Our 3-year-olds in Power School are coded as -2, and she have in parentheses PK3, and EdPlan is translating it to P3. So what do we need to do?
If EdPlan is translating that to P3, then I will talk to them. I will talk to PCG to have them to correct that.
I thought Karen says, I thought that we already submitted indicator 12 systemic verification check in February. Can we resubmit?
Yes, we can resubmit. So yes, some of you did participate in the systemic verification check back in February, but because not everyone selected the same boxes on that report header interface, we got the information is not aligned. So we got some data for some districts and not the other. So we are extending an opportunity, giving districts the guidance on what options to select to submit the report. Once again, it's optional. Just know that if you submitted previously and we don't have the correct data alignment, we can't do the check. So that's why we're extending it again and giving guidance on what to select, so that we can do a thorough systemic verification check for indicator 12.
Ms. Hattie Urban again, when running indicator 12, are all boxes to be checked?
You want to check the boxes according to the slide that I showed earlier in this PowerPoint that I'm going to share with you.
Nick Letterman, if we have no yellow highlighted cells on the two spreadsheets you uploaded to ADT this week, we don't have to submit anything?
That is correct. If you don't have anything with the word explain next to the percentages, then there is nothing for you to do. That is just your results.
Okay, and then Kayla Alexander. So the enriched districts for indicated at 8 still need to submit by tomorrow?
There is nothing for you guys to submit. We are getting that information from the state and PCG. So that information will come from them directly to me. So there is nothing for the LEAs to submit for 8 or 14.
And I think we have someone's raising their hands. Let me see who that is. Sheila Wiley, you want to come off of mute and ask your question?
Okay, I thought I was, okay, yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm apologizing in advance, just in case you covered this already, Carolyn. So is there a projected time frame when there'll be a resolve with the issues with indicator 7?
We are told early April. And so the date of the April 11th was provided early on. And so um, we are projected to have it ready for the April 11th submission. Now, mind you, I think there may be a concern that you won't have an opportunity to thoroughly vet your data before it's submitted, and that is okay, because one of the things that we're doing at this level is really looking at your data and seeing if it's correct for what we need here at the state. As always, if you run your reports and something is missing, or students are missing, or students are added to the report and they shouldn't be, go ahead and submit that Zendesk ticket for any
Okay.
issues that you see when you're running these reports. Go ahead and submit that Zendesk ticket, and that applies to everyone, so that it puts it on their radar as a concern for them to double check and investigate.
Okay, so one more question. So of course, we have several students whose course entry was completed in Enrich. Is EdPlan going to import that data into EdPlan?
Um, that we are in conversations right now. I don't know how that's going to look just yet. I do know that there will be a degree of corrections that will have to be made within the Excel spreadsheet. I just don't know how that's going to look as of right now. But we are told that the corrections will have to be made within the spreadsheet.
Okay.
I just don't, I can't speak to how it's going to look until they've actually done the update and run the report.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I do know that I think they have an office hour call today. I don't have the logistics of that meeting, but I do believe that there is an office hours call with them this afternoon as well. So you will hear about the release. You will hear about the parental delay, those slides that I talked about earlier with those changes. You will also hear about the screenshots. They'll talk about that in the office hours as well. Um, I will say, don't stress. Um, we're going through this together. We don't know what we don't know. So those districts who are going on spring break, enjoy yourself. We're just going to have to monitor and adjust as issues, as we discover issues. We're just going to have to monitor and adjust, but just don't stress. Once we know and put it on the radar, then we will um, investigate and provide some insight to you as to what you can and cannot do, what you shouldn't do, and move on. Any additional questions? For the 14th. Those districts that are on spring break, no worries. If you're going on spring break or if you're on spring break during that week, just send it when you return. It'll be fine. Okay. There are no additional questions. We thank you guys for joining us this morning. Those of you who are going on spring break or preparing for spring break, enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you when you get back. Be safe.